All right, welcome to SHS 310, Anatomical and Physiological Bases of Speech. Let's talk about this class. Uh, mm, or, no, oh, it had to do the thing. Okay, always forget about that. Okay, um, this is me, a little bit about me. If you've taken a class with me before, feel free to skip ahead. Um, so I was born in Mesa. If you're not local to the Phoenix area, Mesa is just a suburb of Phoenix. So is Tempe, which is where ASU is located. I graduated from Hamilton High School, which is in Chandler, another suburb of Phoenix, and then I went to ASU for all of my degrees. And I got a PhD in cognitive science at ASU. Cognitive science is kind of a hybrid of neuroscience, biology, statistics, physics sometimes, all those things, and a little bit of psychology as well. What I specialized in was auditory and visual perception. And that's kind of where all of my research still is focused in auditory and visual perception. Um, so I had a long, like a not a long, it wasn't a long career of undergrad, but I had a lot of different things that I did during undergrad. I changed my major a lot. So if I just encourage a lot of students to try a lot of different things, take electives, and see what is interesting to you. Because when I came into college, I wanted to write movies, write and direct movies. And even though we had a film program at ASU, for some reason, the advisor didn't know about the film program, so they said I should sign up for journalism. And so I did. And I ended up working at the radio station, which is this above me here. This is the ASU campus radio station. Then I, while doing that, also got into acting in movies over here. So this is a still from a movie right here. I was in a few of those up until the most recent one was more recent than you might expect. so, um, and I still would if anybody asked, but they haven't. No one has lately. So too old, I guess. Um, and then after that, no pictures of this, but I went to creative writing. I was doing a lot of writing, trying to write novels, and then um, my professor there was like, you're not probably no one makes money doing this, so you should just continue writing and do something that actually makes money. And I was like, oh, it's interesting. He was like leaving the profession after years of trying to write novels and not making a ton of money, I think. And so anyway, I went into psychology. The idea was to be a therapist, and then I realized very quickly that that was terrible, and volunteered at a cognitive science lab. And then that was like, oh, wow, this is actually what I want to do. Visual illusions, auditory illusions. Why do we fall for visual and auditory illusions? How do we process taste sensation, smell sensation, all these things? Like what's actually going on in the brain? How does it lead to like what we actually see in the world, experience in the world? How does memory work with that? How does the rest of the body influence our perception of the world? So all of these things. And that's what I ended up specializing in. Here's some of my research. I've probably talked about this in other classes, so I'll go through it sort of quickly. One of the main things I've been working on lately is swear words. Essentially, we use phonemes at different rates for different reasons, it looks like. So swear words use a and a lot more often than in regular words. And swear words have very few instances of e and oo. And what's interesting is infant directed speech, which is what you use to talk to like a baby or a dog, any animal or child that you have, makes a ton of use of e and oo. So it seems like there's innately, at least in English, something special about e and oo as being something that you would use to talk more happy and cute and calming. And and is special because they're the opposite of that. They're not as cute and calming. They're more gross and low energy kind of things. Um, Also, another thing I've been doing, I think I've been working on this for about 4 years, is the talking drum, the dun dun talking drum. This is used in southern Nigeria, uh, where the Yoruba people live mostly. The language they speak is also called Yoruba. And then the talking drum is called the dundun. The reason it's called a talking drum is because you can speak Yoruba with this talking drum. So Yoruba is a tonal language, which means that the tone that something is said at, the pitch that it's said at, differentiates the words. So you could say like boba or boba, or I don't know why I'm saying boba. I guess I'm thirsty. It's not an actual word in Yoruba. Or boba. And all of those would be a different thing, like a totally different thing. One's like tree, and one's airplane, and one's, I don't know, a deck of poker cards or something like that. Again, boba's not an actual word in Yoruba. And I know some. I could have used, it doesn't matter. So the pitch is important for the meaning of the word. What's cool about that is that you can then use the talking drum. I mean, drums usually you think of them as just being like just a percussion instrument, but this instrument, that's not true, because you can tighten the top of the drum or loosen the top of the drum just by squeezing the sides of it. Where this guy's kind of got like this drum in a headlock, you can pull on those chords, and it'll go boom, 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 boom. And so you can change the pitch of it. Because you can change the pitch of the drum, you can make the drum speak Yoruba, which is really cool. And so some of the research that we've been doing is showing just how closely it matches the timing and pitch of actual speech. Another thing that we've been doing is showing that English speaking only musicians who don't speak Yoruba are better at matching up a spoken Yoruba message to a drummed Yoruba message than non-musicians, which means that even though they don't speak the language, musicians have an ear that helps them match up the speech to the drum. And then what's really interesting about this is that's true for people who speak Yoruba too. So they actually speak the language, and yet they're more confident and better at finding a match than non-musicians, even though it's the language they speak. So that's interesting. And then the last thing that, one of the other things I've been looking at lately is tetrachromacy. Most of us see colors in like a 3-color system: red, green, and blue. That's the 3 color cones that are in our eyes. And tetrachromacy is people who have 4 color cones. And so I've been working with some of them to try to figure out where the peak of the 4th cone actually is. Looks like maybe it's a yellow cone. And then the last thing is I've been working on some research. My head's covering it up, but right over here, this is a graph from a paper. There we go. I'm going to turn my hand the right way. Right over here, this is a graph from a paper I did about Alzheimer's. And essentially what we've done here is come up with a way that we can try to predict Alzheimer's earlier than typical tests by looking at the way that people, looking at the way that memory is declining across the lifespan. Cool stuff. The last one I think is really, helpful to people in general. And that's how I justify doing stuff with swear words and talking drums, which don't help anybody at all. Like sometimes I'll put out a paper that can like try to help somebody and change somebody's life. And that gives me an excuse to do this other research that's like, oh, look, this is interesting, but it's not really helping anybody. All right, let's talk about how this class is going to be set up. There are 6 exams, which seems like a lot, and it is. One of them's a cumulative final. There's 5 exams, one for each portion. There's a neuro portion. There's a respiration portion. There is what comes next: phonation, then articulation, then swallowing, and OMD. So there's 5 different subjects basically that we're covering in here, and then one final exam that takes all of it into account. Your lowest one is dropped. So what this means is if you did great on the first 5, you don't have to take the final. And if you didn't do good on one of those, you have a safety net in the form of the final. These are all going to be done. That's obvious. They're done online. Why did I even put that in there? The whole class is online. There's 9 quizzes throughout the course of the class. You got 2 attempts for each of these quizzes. What I want you to do on the first go through is treat it like an exam. Don't use your notes the first time through the quiz. Treat it like you're just taking it. And the reason I want you to do this is figure out what you know and what you don't know. That'll help you study for the exam. The second time through on the quiz, definitely pull your notes out and get all the points on the quizzes. Because I don't want anybody to miss points on the quizzes. There's also... I copied that from a different class. This should say that there are 7 labs, not various homeworks. There's 7 labs, and these labs go along with what we're doing in each thing. Some of them just have one. Like I think neuro has 2 labs. Articulation just has 1. So there's either 1 or 2 labs per area that we're working in, and you'll just complete those online. You should also get full points on those. All the answers are there for you. You just have to find them. So it's not like testing your knowledge. You're just working through and making sure that you can find the answers, and hopefully learning from it. You can use those to study for the exams. Let's talk about those exams really quickly. So the exams are closed note. You can't use notes on the exams. You're going to use Respondus Lockdown Browser to make sure that you're not using some sort of assistance. You have to download Respondus. I'll have a link in the class where you can download Respondus. You have to have a quiet place and a webcam. I don't know how that got screwed up the way it did. You should have a quiet place and a webcam to take the exam. Sometimes you may not actually have a quiet place. I know some of you have kids. Some of you have like a dog that runs in and barks and stuff like that. It'll flag you. Respondus will flag you, but that's fine. Like I go through, I look at the flags. It's all right if you have to have your toddler with you while you're taking the exam. That's okay. Obviously, they're not helping you cheat, and your dog barking is the same thing. So it's not. Don't worry about normal life stuff. The exams, you have 90 minutes unless you have accommodations from sales, and then how that changes for you. And then the last thing is, and I'm sorry about this, you can't go back on the exams. You have to answer the question you're on and move forward. So it's not the best way to take an exam, but the online exams, there's tons of people who like to copy the questions and post them on places to try to get I don't know what you get by posting them, but they'll basically steal the questions and post them places. So this is one method that we use to prevent that. Another method that we use to prevent that is you can't see what you got wrong after you take the exam. It's just you won't know what answers you got right or wrong. But it is good to review those. And so the way that you can do that is we can Zoom and I can open it up and I can show you. If you want to review your exam, I can show you what you got right and wrong so you can study for it later. But you won't be able to see it on your own. Throughout the class, I'll have some extra credit for you. It'll be stuff from my lab, which is the Copper Mule Lab, Cognition, Perception, Music, Audition, and Learning Lab. I came up with that acronym. I probably should remember what it stands for. Or it could be from some of my colleagues. So there's definitely going to be at least one extra credit thing for you. There could be more if there's a lot of studies going on over the summer. One of the last things I wanted to mention, last thing I want to mention that isn't something for you to actually do is DRC and sales accommodation. Sales and DRC is the same place. DRC, Disability Resource Center. Sales stands for Student Accessibility and Inclusive Learning Services. So it's the same place. I just changed the name. You can visit them in person or digitally. If you live in the Phoenix area and you'd prefer to go in, you can. There's campuses in East Mesa, Tempe, Phoenix, Glendale, not in Havasu anymore, but yes in LA and yes in Hawaii. So you can go to any of those campuses and visit the salespeople, but you can also go online. You don't have to fly from Ohio to Hawaii to go to sales, although if that helps you take a nice vacation, then I guess you could. You could say that. Write it off as a learning experience in your taxes. I don't know if you can do that. Don't listen to me. Don't do any tax fraud. Anyway, if you feel like you could use some sort of accommodation, if there's something that's a barrier for you in your learning process, go see sales. Some of you already know this. You know that you have dyslexia. You know that you have test anxiety, auditory processing disorder, any of these things. You may already know it. You may already be getting accommodations through sales. But I had a student a few years ago who told me that he did not have enough time to finish the exams. And it's a true thing that a lot of time people who don't study will come up with reasons that they're not doing well in the class. And so I just assumed that this was like, okay, you're not doing well in the class because of these reasons. Like you're saying this. But then I looked at his exam, and it's true that the first 3/4 of the exam was really good. And then there just were no answers on the other side. So he might have been getting close to 100% on the first 3/4 of the exam. The last quarter, no answers at all. So I said, so what's going on? Like, why do you think it takes you so long to answer these questions? And he said, well, I have to read them multiple times to make sure that I understand what the question's asking. And then once I understand what the question's asking, I can go to the answers. I have to understand each answer. And I said, this sounds, man, like dyslexia. Do you have, are you dyslexic? And he said, no, nobody's ever said that. And I said, well, go to sales. This was an in-person class, so he could just go to sales. And they have some assessments that they were able to give him. And it turns out he was dyslexic. He is dyslexic. So he downloaded a font called Open Dyslexic, and it changes all the letters and all of his things on his computer to, they kind of have like this, it's like a wider bottom and skinnier at the top. And that's one thing that worked really well for him. Doesn't work for everybody that has dyslexia. There's some subtypes that doesn't work for, but whatever type he had, it did work well for. And then he also got extra time on his exam. So he was able to take the time that he needed to read those extra, like the last quarter of the exam, and the new font also helped him read more effectively. Totally changed his school life, possibly his whole life. I don't know, but it definitely changed his academic life. And he went from getting C's and D's to getting straight A's, got into medical school. And the last I knew, he was totally successful in medical school. He was a resident somewhere. So, very cool. I don't know if he's a resident. He's doing the thing, like he's through the school, he's in the hospital now. That's a resident. I don't know. I'm a doctor. I'm not a medical doctor. Shoot, man. Okay. I think it's red. I don't know. So it never hurts to see. No one knows if you make an appointment with sales and you don't qualify. No one knows. I'm not told. No one at the school is told. No one. Your family isn't told. They don't need to be told if you do qualify for anything either. Your family doesn't need to be told. This is something between you and sales and your instructors. We have to know to give you whatever accommodation you need. But it's a HIPAA thing, so we can't disclose that information to anybody. So you should, if you feel like there's something that's holding you back, you should talk to sales, and they've got assessments for all these things. So they will find a way to get you accommodations if you qualify for them. Okay, so first thing we're doing in class is craziest broken bone. It's like an introduction thing. We're gonna talk. I'll talk to you guys. You talk to each other. The TA will be in there as well. We're all gonna talk about what's your craziest broken bone story. If you haven't broken a bone, you can talk about some other kind of injury, because this class is anatomy. We're talking about bones. We're talking about tendons, muscles, stuff like that. So you had a bad sprain? Tell us about that. I'm actually going to tell you, I think the craziest story I have, I've got a couple broken bones, but they're not crazy. I fell. I broke my collarbone. That's not that big of a deal. I was playing football. I broke my finger. That's not that big of a deal. Well, I did. Okay. That's actually kind of a cool story. I'll tell you the story too. But broke my finger, one of these. So like you can tell, this finger is a little weird. That's the one that was broken. So I was playing football, catching a football. It hit, my hand was a little too towards the football. The football came in, doink, and then broke the finger. It was backwards, and I pulled it to put it normal, and I thought maybe it's okay, and it wasn't fine. So I had to go to a hand surgeon, and he's like, oh, you need surgery because this is broken, but the tendon is still attached, and that's why it's all weird. So you have to like do this thing. We got to pin it. So went in, and he's like, do you know that the thing that pins, the thing that shoots the pin into your bone is made by Remington, the shotgun company? And I was like, no, that's crazy. And he's like, I know, it's crazy. I'm going to hit this button, and it's going to shoot a shotgun shell, and it's going to fire a pin into your finger. And I'm like, wow, crazy. He's like, I know, it's so cool. And so I went to sleep, and they put this pin in, and you live with the pin for a while, and then we had to get the pin taken out. And the thing was, I guess, whatever localized deadening solution doesn't work on me. It just wasn't like they fill it up, and they touch the thing, and it hurts when you touch the pin that's in your finger. I'm like, ow. And he's like, okay, we need more. So he's like shoots it in. I have a class starting pretty soon after this appointment, and it just isn't. And I'm like, you know what? I think we're just going to have to like pull it out. And he's like, well, you're not deadened. Are you sure that's okay? And I'm like, I mean, you've probably got another appointment coming up, and I got to go to work. And I think maybe we should just do this. And he's like, okay, that's awesome. And he's like a super cool doctor. And he yanked it out, and it hurt, and then it was done. And he's like, whoa, never seen that. I'm like, yeah, well, I've never done it. So anyway, it's fine. It hurt at the moment. And then as soon as it was done, it was like, oh, now doesn't hurt anymore. So it was fine. Went to work, taught the class. It was all fine. And then the story I was going to tell you that is actually crazy is a story of no broken bones, no injuries at all. A riding lawnmower that was not, the mower part was not going, fell into gear, and I was like opening up a little fence. I have a huge grass yard, and I was opening up the gate to pull this thing through, and it fell into gear, and it ran into me, and it like sandwiched me between the gate and the mower for a long time, and it like kept like going, and it seemed like it was going to be a really bad injury. And then finally somebody saw and they stopped it. I got out from under. And then totally fine. No scrapes, no cuts, no broken bones, no pulled muscles, not even a pulled muscle, like no injuries at all. No injuries at all. A bruise, one small bruise on my shin. But it was like, I don't know, seemed like it was going to be terrible. Wasn't bad at all. Crazy stuff. And then I just continued mowing the lawn because I don't know, it was all good. Seemed like if I stopped, it would have been like, oh, I almost died. And so it was better to not do that and just mow the lawn and listen to a podcast about music instead. Okay, so tell me your craziest broken bone story or other non-injury, maybe. And then it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. Interested to see what happens. I think you're going to enjoy the class because the body's crazy, man. And the whole thing works as like an awesome system. So it's really cool. Some of this class is really cool. You may not think that you are into anatomy. I guarantee you some of it's going to be cool to the point where you can't not think that it's interesting. So, all right. See you online talking about bones soon.